Good morning, good afternoon. Hopefully everyone had a good time at the keynote this morning. How cool was Mate just open sourcing Unity Catalog live on stage? I was blown away by that. Awesome. Well, my name is Rochana Golani, and we're here talking with an amazing customer of ours, Unilever, who is going to tell us about what they did in terms of transforming talent for their organization. So I run what is called training and enablement at Databricks. And really the goal here is to make sure that when we think about our customers, we don't just think about technology, because people are at the heart of everything that happens in every organization. So how do we keep focus on that talent is one of the things that me and my team focus on, with amazing people like organizations who are dealing with that too. So let me start off with what we are going to cover in this session. We are going to talk about the challenges that appear for talent and how we at Databricks think about the offerings or the opportunities that we can create to help our customers with that. We will have Unilever, our amazing customer, talk to us a bit about what they did in how they thought about transforming talent and the initiatives that they did. I have a set of questions that I will reflect on with their journey with Roberto here. And then finally, we'll open it up to you. If you have questions, we'll take those as well. So let's go and talk about why are we even having this talk? Why is this even a topic? It's not just a topic here. It was definitely a topic at many forums, many of the customers that I talk to on an everyday basis. This comes up a lot. That one of the hardest things organizations have to navigate when they are thinking about accepting data and AI or really driving transformation in their organization is people. And they realize that the workers' skills, the people that they have, I mean, even if you think about data engineer as a role, really it's only in the last decade that has really become something. And what's to say that tomorrow there isn't going to be a role that says something like Gen AI engineer, right? And whatever else that happens to be. So the skills of the people are in constant change. And we expect, again, based on the research here, that 60% of people are going to have to completely change what they do today and learn entirely new skills. And of course, AI is going to have a huge impact both in terms of demand. So I feel like sometimes people worry a lot about, are we going to lose jobs because of AI? I only think about what jobs are we going to create because of AI, and how do we stay ahead of that? Because I absolutely think that there are more jobs that are going to get created because of AI, but the only thing that's going to be different is the requirement in the skills. So how do we think about this at Databricks? The first thing that we think about is when organizations or even individuals have to think about developing capabilities and where they are in their data and AI journey, it's really important to understand what are you trying to do with those, right? A skill is only as good when it is applied to a job. So role-based for us is really important, whether you're an engineer, whether you're an ML application engineer, whether you're a scientist, whether you're a data governance person, security, things like that. So every piece of content that we are trying to create, we try to think about who is this for and what will it allow them to do in the future. The second thing that is really critical in this world of developing skills is this idea of continuous. So a lot of times people think about learning or training as an event. And in my team, we have a very strong belief that it is not, and it is actually a continuum. Meaning that this event that we are all here for to learn about things might be a very good jumpstart into what we want to do. But if we don't continue on this in the next month and in the months after that, till the next Data and AI Summit happens again, then we're likely going to be left behind. So learning as a continuous is really important for us, and we want to make sure that you keep thinking about whether it's forums, whether it's some sort of self-paced learning that you're doing, whether it is a combination. So we offer hybrid training as well, so you can join an instructor sometimes, but then you can learn on your own at other times. Obviously, credentials and things like that to continuously upskill. The third thing is labs and hands-on. So videos only go so far. or talks only go so far. You really have to be able to do things in order to really understand. And so a lot of the learning that we provide, in fact, at Moscone West, we have an entire area there, if you haven't been, on second floor, called the Learning Hub. And you can go and try out live hands-on labs on literally anything, Delta Live tables, Unity catalog, whatever that happens to be. We have hands-on labs made available for all of that. But experiential learning also means that you could think about rotations in organizations where you might not have done a job before, but if you can spend 20% on that, that's a great way to learn about it. Last and definitely not the least is to think about how can you become a part of a community where you can learn best practices from others who have done that. So in organizations, communities become a really important thing to share those best practices and think about that ongoing journey of building data and AI capability. So at Databricks, we try and make all of these things available to our users. And on our website, which is databricks.com/training, you can access all of these role-based learning journeys of the ones that I mentioned. There is an amazing online community that you can also join, hands-on training, blended cohort-based training that I also talked about. And there is a massive library of content that people can take and get started with to understand more about not only the new features, but also like if you were trying to establish yourself as a data engineer or as a data scientist. One of the most important things, and this is a new announcement for us at Data and AI Summit, is our investment in Gen AI, understanding that there is something really radical happening here with Gen AI. Databricks is very proud to announce a new generative AI engineer learning path. Everything from a fundamentals course, which is basically just what is RAG and what is prompt engineering and what is pre-tuning, fine-tuning, all the way to actually using our latest announcement with the RAG Studio and using that to create RAG applications with an associate level certification mapped to that as well. This is industry's first. Nobody else has done that yet, and we're happy to make that available here at the event. So this is available, again, on our website, and people can take that as well. So the thing that I wanted to talk about is really Unilever that went through, it's an organization that went through a massive transformation in how they handled data. They call their project the Compass organization, which was really about this idea that you could not have individual region-based teams that were just managing data. They wanted to bring that all together and think about data-led decisions that were global in the organization. What they did was really a deliberate move. I see this in, again, every organization. There's a very high correlation to organizations that think about this talent transformation upfront and a clear success. Unilever being one of those great examples that we have seen that, where they deliberately went in and said, we are going to do something with people enabling our own people. It's important to also recognize it's not like you saw in every keynote. I feel like they put the QR code at the end to say, join our team. This is a very hard talent to find as well, so developing in our own organization makes sense. And so what Unilever did was put a very deliberate plan, and I'm going to introduce the speaker here in just a minute so that they can tell us a bit more about that. But what they saw was being deliberate about investing and giving people a chance to opportunity and learn more things. They have double-digit percentage year-over-year growth. Like every year, they continue to multiply the number of people who go through training. Hundreds and hundreds of people earning badges and certifications in this organization. And literally thousands of certifications. They have community members where they're sharing best practices. So really, they're a dream customer because all of these things that we think about building at Databricks, they actually put it to use and then some and continuously give us feedback. So it's my great honor to introduce Roberto Flores Meregote, who is the head of data engineering for Europe Unilever. And he was really the champion behind putting this whole thing together with a great vision. So I'm going to hand it off to Roberto to share a bit more about what they did.
Thank you. Thank you, Rochana. Well, good morning, everyone. Or afternoon, I think, by now. My name's Roberto. I'm the head of data engineering for Europe in Unilever. But I didn't start my career at Unilever as a data engineer. I actually started as a finance reporting analyst, which meant I used Excel a lot. I always knew I wanted to get into data, but I had actually a watershed moment, something like 6 years ago. I had a colleague, a close friend of mine, who was then in HR. She called me and said, Roberto, I'm leaving Unilever. And when I asked why, because I was a bit puzzled, she always said how much she loved the company. She said, well, it's simple. It's because I want to get into data. And this was very confronting to me because as someone who also wanted to get into data, I started questioning my own choice. So am I doing the right thing by staying here? And also, she pushed me to actually pursue my goal. So I reached out to my line manager, and that's one thing I'm very lucky. I had a line manager that moved mountains for me. So when I told him I wanted to move into data, he gave me space to learn SQL, Python, and as I started to learn, he even found within the company a team that was willing to put me on their project so I could get some hands-on experience. And slowly, I actually moved towards my first data engineering role within Unilever. Now, if you see what happened, I was given the tools and the opportunity to develop my talent within the company. And as I advanced with engineering, I always remembered my friend. And I always thought to myself, we have so many smart people in the building that already love the company, they already know the business, and they know the data as well intuitively because they work on it every day. So I wanted to do something about it. And I got together with some like-minded colleagues who, like me, had similar journeys. And we said, OK, let's do something about it. We reached out to Databricks, to Samantha, who is fantastic. And we told her what we were looking to do. And what she suggested was that we start a hackathon. So this was very interesting because, as Rochana mentioned, we were going through a big transformation in the company where we had little visibility of what other people were doing because, of course, it's changing so much internally that you're just busy on your own thing, right? You just want to make sense of your part, and for good reason, right? Because we're going through some necessary but big change. The other challenge we had was, while we were working internally, the environment around us was changing quickly. And that just created even more demand for upskilling resources. So by doing a hackathon, we tackled the first one. We advertised within the building, because we have one office in Rotterdam. And by just doing that local grassroots advertising of, OK, we're having some smart people over. We're going to do a hackathon on-site, full day. This is the date. And we just spoke to people on different floors. And that brought people together from finance, from sales, supply chain, from different profiles. But in the end, they were all data enthusiasts. We brought people together. They got to know each other. And over time, after the hackathon, they stayed in touch, and so they could support each other. And that's why that was only the start. We then, together with Sam, designed, we wanted to make this a habit, not a one-off, not like, oh, great, we do a hackathon and we pat each other in the back. We wanted to make some healthy habits that could help this community grow, a bit like a plant. So the first thing we did to water our plant is actually, as Rochana mentioned, there's some really great resources available. So just enforcing and making those available. I'm trying to display the fourth one, but it doesn't. There we go. I just want to go through them all at once. So the first thing we did was actually weekly tutoring sessions. So we agreed with a solutions architect from Databricks. We would have half an hour every week, public call. Anyone can go in. They can ask a question, no matter how big, no matter how small. And that created a healthy habit of maintaining touch points and maintaining accessibility. Then, during those calls, we also would remind people of the resources they already had on Databricks Academy specialized resources that would allow them to work with the tools they have on the job, and also, more importantly, on the company's data. So that gives it a more practical element. And importantly, we made something called user group sessions, which is every 2 or 3 months, we would have, the most important thing is 3 elements. The first one is someone from the community would do like a show and tell of a project they did that they were proud of. Then the Databricks team would explain all the upcoming features, what to make of them, and what it can mean for the company. And lastly, we would sometimes do some sort of either competitions on whoever finishes the learning track first. We would pay for their certification. So we would try to nudge people always towards either the on-demand learning or the instructor-led learning. So we gave people the tools to upskill on their own. We gave people an environment where they could talk to each other and meet each other. And we would show them what other people were doing today with their data. So yeah, the combination of in-person workshops, virtual trainings, tutoring, the user community, experiential learning, so the hackathons, and these sort of certification campaigns. So these are healthy habits that we adopted as a community, and we continue to do. It becomes more effortless over time. So actually, when I get back to Rotterdam, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a user session so I can explain to the user community in Unilever what all the Genie, all the great features they announced in the keynote, what that means, because it means a lot of new possibilities open up.
Yeah. So this is, like I said, so awesome because as you saw in the first part, I talked about all of these things that we wanted to do, and then how Unilever took that and then some pieces, right? Like they brought the user community, they did the hackathon, they thought about these ongoing trainings that they were doing too. But I'm curious, if I can, Roberto, have you think about why the experiential learning was such an important aspect to, or the hands-on component was such an important aspect to Unilever's journey?
So I believe that we can thrive when we have an ecosystem, right, that supports us. And a big part of that ecosystem is knowing that you're not doing it alone.
Yeah.
So when you have peers, like-minded peers, that you can sort of push each other and motivate each other to move forward. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest elements, just the fact of knowing that you're not the only person that's currently in supply chain that wants to get into data. There's maybe someone else in customer service that's doing the same.
Yeah.
And you're both just as humble, just as willing to learn together. So that helps finding your peers.
There is an individual hero journey in all of this that I also really, really appreciate, that it didn't matter that the true transformation, as Roberto shared his own journey of just being a financial analyst and then moving into becoming a data engineer, and not just a data engineer, a great one, heading all of the Europe's Unilever data engineering practice, right? So when you think about developing skills, there could truly be a great path for that. Roberto, as you reflect on the great things that you've done, can you share a bit more about the value of the community and the actual, like the forums and sort of what people were sharing there?
Yes. So I remember our first session, we had someone showcase what we call the asset bank. So Unilever, we're a marketing well, we do a lot of marketing, and that has a lot of images. And it's very common that people need in some form or another, like a JPEG of the pack. So we had someone showcase how they use Python to hit the API and just get like the list of the URLs of all the images. And this gave people like something they could also do.
Yeah.
Then we actually also showcased recently, actually, with Constantina from Databricks. She's a geospatial expert. Mm-hmm. So we brought in a geospatial expert, and she showed the community, listen, it's not just about tabular data. There's also different types of data that you can use and see things from a whole new angle. So having an expert, she has a PhD in these, so having that expert person to sort of inspire is a big thing.
Very powerful, yeah, very powerful.
So the combination of the internal, look at what I did achievement, the small victories, coupled with the external expertise, that drives a good balance in energy.
Yeah. Maybe my next question is, you've done a lot, right? One of the things Roberto shared with us as we were going up to get tea was that in preparation for this, he said, I went back and for all these years of work with Databricks, he looked through every single email to understand how did this journey even start, like how did we get here? So I guess I'm gonna ask you to project this out and say, what's your vision for where do you see this going in the next few years for capability building?
Yeah, that's a great point. So as you mentioned, I was going through the emails, and it was a bit like going through my logs of
Code.
what I did, yeah. But I actually thought of it a bit like when you go to the gym, not every day you're like, okay, I really want to go to the gym today. But after you do it, it feels really great. And it's actually a habit that you have to keep, and the more you keep it, the easier it is to keep
going. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it was always easy for us to organize a session or do the question hour, but if you stick to it, and also that's the other thing, don't do this alone. Thankfully, I had like-minded peers at all times, 2 or 3, so we shared the load, and it was like, okay, if you're on holiday, I'll do the session today, or we would back each other up, but the most important thing was that we would keep the momentum.
Yeah.
And now it has a bit of a life of its own.
That's great. And for those listening in the audience, Roberto, what advice do you have? You've obviously done this really well for Unilever, changed a bunch of things for them. For someone who's just getting started and like still thinking about that user community or how do we transform the talent, what advice do you have for them?
Well, I always believe that the best movement is a grassroots movement, and you just have to get started, honestly. So find people, don't do it alone, don't take it all on yourself, but find 2 or 3 like-minded people and reach out to your Databricks representative. Usually, if you have an account with Databricks, there's solutions architects that can help you, but there's also enablement specialists.
Yeah.
So don't do it alone. Find people, but just get started. You don't have to wait for an official blessing from the higher management. Just do it.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to go back to the story you told earlier at the beginning, right? You had someone, a friend of yours, a colleague of yours, who came and said they're leaving because they want to go do data. Do you still see that at Unilever?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, well, just to follow up on where she is now, so she's a data scientist at a tech company.
Okay.
So she did well, but to follow up on that profile, right? When I first started the engineering team in Unilever, we would post internal job postings. So we usually have what goes on LinkedIn, but also we have an internal job portal. And we would see, when I started, I would put data engineer. I got zero applicants. No one would apply. And these days, when I post something, I get at least 7. So it means that we actually created an internal talent pipeline for data engineering. And these people, I know them because, again, they're part of the community. They do, that's another important thing. Like they do like flex projects. There's this figure in Unilever, it's called flex. And you can, if you agree with your manager, you can actually work on another team for 1 day a week. So a lot of these people are part of the community doing a flex and already know how things work. So they are a perfect fit usually when I put a job out.
Yep. I think the word there is what I really like about this story is that it did turn around, right? There are more internal talent, but there was also deliberation and focus in saying we have to do this because Unilever is a data and AI company. It's serving its customers, thinking about data and AI. But in summary, here's what I'll say. I think transforming talent is critical for like your own transformation as new skills and new things come in, but also like to really reflect on this for your organization, if you're on a journey to becoming a data and AI company, the talent has to be data and AI ready. And to do that, we really have to invest in capability building. We have to build in community building. And as Roberto said, don't do it alone, but get started, right? Find a partner, find a buddy who also has shared interests, and creating that first community could be important. When it is blessed with leadership, and it is done with the manager's support, like in Roberto's story himself, you can see that acceleration much further. But Databricks is here to partner with you. Or you have each, if you are a customer, there is probably an associated solutions architect, there is an enablement person, there are on our website, there are lots of resources that are really, really targeted for every customer to be able to get on this journey of developing skills. And we're constantly updating new things, like even all of the announcements that are happening this week. There's training available on that now with hands-on labs. We have them at Moscone West as well, so you can check it out there. And the new Gen AI certification, I'll put that in. So Roberto, any final words of advice from you for people listening?
Yeah, thanks. Really grateful that you took the time to join us. Indeed, we still have a lot to learn, and that's also something I maybe forgot to mention, that after the community sessions, Samantha is very methodical in actually measuring and getting feedback from the community. So it's not that we just put a session out and off
Forget
we go.
about it, yeah.
Exactly. Samantha usually follows up as soon as the session ends. She sends bloop. People get a nice NPS survey, and what should we do next? And
yeah.
Thanks to that, we've actually played around with the length of the session or the type of content, or we've actually struggled sometimes to balance it out between the more technical, or the business user that just wants to know a bit of SQL.
Yeah.
So that's something we're still working out. But so like different personas. So is it actually 2 types of sessions we need to run or just one? But yeah, these are things that getting started, but also being open to collecting feedback and correcting course.
Yeah, at Databricks, we say this a lot. We might not get it perfect, but at least we got started, and we're most of the way there. And I think that's a big theme in Roberto's presentation as well. So again, thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Roberto, for being an amazing customer of ours and for sharing your story so openly. I think this inspires, hopefully, somebody else as well to start the user community, think about the transformation that is required for talent, and make sure that you invest in yourself, right? Invest in skills, because that is what is going to be the future for our career. So thanks again, everyone, for joining.